Welcome to the Active Real Estate Podcast with your host, Joshua Huber. We're here each and every week to interview top real estate investors and bring you tips to activate your real estate investment career. Today, we have on the show a good friend of mine, Corey Bassett. Corey has multiple real estate investments and owns a factory-built container home business out of Santa Rosa, California. I want to start with how did you get into real estate investing, Corey?
I actually, when I was 25 years old, I just decided that real estate was a good thing to get into. I wanted to start buying houses and flipping houses, and I just started talking to people. I just talked to everybody that was within earshot. I talked to them about it. And one day, a guy was like, "Oh, you're looking to buy a house? I'll sell you my house for what I owe on it." And I said, "Perfect." So I went and looked at it, ended up buying it for what the guy owed. It needed a ton of work, did a full remodel on it. And then I was going to flip it and decided to live in it instead. Ended up staying there for a while. So that was
amazing.
my first.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that shows just the importance of spreading the word that you're trying to look for a house or you're a real estate investor. And in the beginning, even if you have no properties or no leads or no money, even putting that word out there, will drive and magnetize kind of these deals that come to you. So great job doing that. One of those special skills that you always have had, Corey, getting that motivation and pushing for the things that you want. So that's great. What about that property made it such a good deal? And do you still have that property today?
I do still have that property. What made it a good deal is that the price. I mean, it was in Florida. Most houses were, $130,000 at the time. This is in 2005. And the guy sold it to me for what he owed on it, which was $89,000. And, at this point in time, you could still get a loan for over what the house was and get a check back from the bank to have some extra money to invest into it. So I got a check for $16,000. The loan was I think the loan was 110. And after closing costs, I got a check for 16 grand. And then I just put that back into the house to, do the remodel.
Well, let's zoom into that again. What happened? The bank gave you some money to remodel the property?
So basically what I did is the house was worth more than what he was selling it to me for. He was selling it to me for 89. They appraised it around 110 or 120. So I took the loan for 110, even though I was only buying it for 89. So basically he got a check for 89 and then played all the closing costs, and there was $16,000 left over. So I basically got a check back for $16,000. And then I just took all of that and just rolled it back into fixing the place up.
Wow, so great. I mean, you finance the renovations on the property, so that's great. Well, good job on that one. I also want to talk to you about this apartment house hacking that I heard that you did in Glendale. Let's talk about that. I think this is really crucial, probably for again our newer investor who doesn't have any money, who's just starting out. Let's hear about this plan.
Yeah, so this was about 15 years ago, I would say, and I was moving from the house in Florida to California, to Glendale. And basically, we were looking at apartments, and I'm like, $1,500 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment? What? This is crazy. So I was like, no way, we can't do that. And so, of course, that was the good deal in Glendale, right? So we got the place. It was great. Had a roommate for a while, so we're just splitting the rent. And then that basically roommate left, and I got the idea to basically, I had a dining room and then a living room where you would enter from the front. And so what I did is I just put a doorway between the dining room and the living room, called the living room a third bedroom. It had its own little balcony on it, and it had its own private entrance. And then I rented that out. And so now what was happening is I think I was paying at that point with the 2 roommates, I was paying $200 a month for my portion of the rent. And then when another roommate moved out, I got another one in. I was paying $100, and then another roommate moved in, and now I have 2 roommates and I'm paying nothing. And then it got to a point where I moved out of Glendale, and I talked to a friend of mine. I was like, "Hey, would you want to manage this for me?" And he was like, "Sure." So he moved in, kept the lease in my name. And I just gave that up. I think I did that for about 6 years. And I had three guys in there. Uh, Basically, two of them paid the rent, and the rest of it came to me. So I made like $600 a month over the course of the last 6 years, which is not a ton of money, but it was free money, pretty much. I had to deal with
Not to
a
mention,
little bit of management, but
yeah, but you're also not having to pay rent, which is a huge factor. I think what is most people's income, about 35%, 40% goes to living expenses, to the roof over your head. And so eliminating that is one of the ways that I got ahead also, having multiple roommates in a house that I rented in Manhattan Beach, California. So, I mean, it's definitely a great way to do that. And I love the idea of just blocking out that wall, and adding an additional bedroom for where that dining room used to be. And I think that's a great a great way to find the highest and best usage of that space. And it's just, as long as you're willing to go in and be a little bit inconvenienced, of course, right? Having roommates is an inconvenience, but
sure.
it's going to save you a ton of money. I think that is a great way to go about it. And house hacking, I think, is probably the easiest way to get into real estate, in my opinion. And so you're doing it from an apartment standpoint, just apartment hacking, which is
Yeah,
great.
and I actually did that with that first house that I bought in Florida. When I did the remodel, I also turned the garage into an extra bedroom. So it basically was a 3 bed, 2 bath. I made the master bedroom double size basically, and then added the bedroom in the garage. Kind of took the door out, built the wall, put a window in, put sheetrock and floors in, and then I rented that room out, which was on the other end of the house, had its own private entrance as well, for like $600 a month. And I think my mortgage was like $900 a month at the time. And so this person
Wow.
was paying 2/3 of my mortgage, like right off the bat.
That's amazing. Amazing. That's great. I want to fast forward a little bit in your investment career. I think recently I heard about you doing a sub two property, buying a sub two property. How did that go down, and what is subject to?
Yeah, so basically what we did is we wanted we have the factory built home company that you mentioned, and we wanted to find properties where we could put ADUs in the backyard, granny suites, to up the property values. And so we basically what we did is we found a friend who wanted to invest with us, and what he did is his deal was to buy the house, and then my business partner and I, we were going to build the ADU, and also we were going to help him manage the remodel. Um, and we got into it. We got the remodel done. We started to list it for rent. We were trying to do like midterm rentals, and the guy who bought the place, just he was like, "Oh, this is kind of hard. Like this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be." And he kind of wanted out of the deal. He actually was starting school as well. He's going to take some college classes, and so he kind of wanted out of the deal. And we said, "Well, let's do this subject too." Which means basically what it means is that you take over their loan, but the loan stays in their name. There's proper paperwork to cover everything, so you have everything you need to take care of insurance and things like that. And so we took over the loan. Where the deed is in our name now, so we own that house, and we have the house built in our factory that's going to go in the backyard, and we're almost done with permits for that. So
Great.
yeah,
Awesome. Can you dive into some of the terms of that deal, or if you're willing to, of course?
yeah. Basically, what it came down to is he put all the money in for the remodel. So there was about $100,000 in equity. And so what we did is the way that we did something kind of weird. We have another piece of land as well. So what we did is we the loan for the house that we did the subject to was, I think, 450 grand. And then the 100,000 that he had in equity, we actually gave him a lien on our other property. our piece of land. And the reason that we did that is because when we refinance that property, we don't want there to be another lien on that property.
Mm,
Because it's going to be an investment property, we're going to have more equity in it to be able to pull money out. And that's kind of our plan, is to refinance it when the time comes to put the ADU in the backyard, because we've already spent money on that, and it's going to cost a lot more to actually install it. So we're going to need to pull some money out of there. And if we had another lien for $100,000, then that's $100,000 less in equity that we have, basically. So we're basically just making it look like we have more equity in that property than we actually do.
got it, got it. And then you're also putting an ADU in the back. What's an ADU for the audience that doesn't know that?
It's an accessory dwelling unit, or some people call it a granny unit, a granny suite. Basically, it's a house that you put in your backyard, um, that, depending on what size yard you have, I think you can do in California up to 1,200 square feet for an ADU. And our R3 container home is 970 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. So it's just an extra house, basically, put in the backyard, which will double the income on that property. Of course, it's going to cost us that money, but
That's a huge addition to that property. I mean, I don't know what this
yeah.
price per square foot is up there in Santa Rosa. I'm sure it's going to increase the property value significantly. So, I know the property that I just finished in Eagle Rock, I'm sure that the property value increased significantly because of that as well. I haven't gotten an appraisal yet, but we'll find out when I go to refinance that property. Um, but stay tuned for that. And so I heard you say that you're going to put a container ADU on that property. Maybe we can pivot and talk about the container home business that you and your partner have.
Yeah, so basically, we decided to build houses out of shipping containers. So we do, single container, double, triple. We've done a 2-story with 6 containers. The bottom was a garage, and the top was the living space with a porch. Um, and we call it Strong House, so it's stronghousenowcom. And yeah, we're trying to make it more affordable. Everything's so expensive here in California. When you start with that container, you have your shell already. Your roof is already there. Your structure for the most part is already there. There are some modifications that we make depending on what we cut out of the containers. But I was showing one to somebody the other day, and they were looking at the interior, and they're like, that's a container, because it just looks like a regular house from the inside. And you can make it look like a regular house from the outside as well, just by adding some siding to it. But the siding's already there, so you don't have to, which is another cost savings. And we're
Got
recycling.
it. Yeah, I mean, you're getting these containers from where? Where are you getting them?
You get them from the shipping yards. So in California, they have to be a one-use container, which means basically they come from overseas with product in them. You have to know that it wasn't some toxic waste or something, so they're certified, and then those can be used for housing in California. I know in other states you can use older containers that have been used multiple times. But there's a surplus of these containers. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of them all over the country that are just sitting in yards, not being used. So we're turning them into houses for people and saving people money.
So cool, yeah. I mean, what is the smallest house that you can build with these containers? Is there a certain size that is pretty standard?
We do have one as small as 160 square foot. It's just one
Okay.
20-foot container. It's a little studio. It's just a bathroom in like a bedroom with a kitchenette in it, and that is something that we do build depending on your area. If it's legal to put something that small or not depends on the area, the city, the county.
So what are all the costs involved? So obviously building the container home itself sounds like that's happening in a factory, and so probably expedites that process. But
Right.
what are other costs involved into purchasing and laying down a container home like this?
Usually it depends. It depends on where you are, what the situation is, but usually there's some kind of engineering involved as far as what utilities are going to look like. to go from the main house to the accessory dwelling unit in the backyard. And then there's the foundation that needs to be installed. So we actually have a contractor that we work with who, once we sell someone the house, we pass off to him, and then he takes care of, getting the foundation in and then getting the electric and the plumbing all hooked up. And we have it all set up so that everything's kind of a plug and play at that point.
Awesome. So he's doing kind of the on-site work and you guys are doing all the build work in the factory.
That's right. Yep.
That's a fantastic team. It's a good partnership, I'm sure.
Yep.
That's exciting. So where can we find out more about these container homes, Corey?
Our website is stronghousenow.com.
Okay. And that will be in the show notes, of course, and on YouTube here as well. So
we do have an Instagram page
we're-
as well, which I believe is also Stronghouse.
Okay, sounds good. Um, I want to pivot here to the three questions we ask every guest on the show. What is your favorite real estate investing book?
I would have to say, well, real estate investing specifically. I mean, I would have to go back to it's not, I guess it's not really an investing book, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of the catalyst for me,
Yeah.
way back in the day. I read that book and I was like,
And for so many people too, right? And it's like that's the book that I give to my nieces and nephews and all, like anyone
yeah.
who's younger, as soon as I can. So I love that book as well. Great book. What is the most actionable tip that you can give young real estate investors?
I would say, don't be afraid to take that first step. I think that's kind of what hinders people from actually getting into this, going from thinking about it to getting into it. It's scary. It's scary. You really have to step out of your comfort zone to do this kind of stuff. For the first time, you really just have to take that leap and take the chance of maybe failing, because, the more times you fail, the better you're going to get at it. So take that chance,
Fail
take
faster.
that first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. And then last question here, Corey, how can people contact you or get to know more about you?
Well, they can contact us through the Stronghouse Now. I also have a website, Sonoma County Craftsmen, MEN.com. And I also have an Instagram.
Corey does it on Instagram. I can vouch for that Instagram channel. It's has all kinds of good builds. We didn't get into it, but he built a tiny home a few years ago, and that looked fantastic. It was awesome. So really good. Corey, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I can't wait to get up to Sonoma County and to Santa Rosa to check out some of these new container homes that you're putting out. And I just am blown away by the pictures that you guys are sending and the blueprints that you're sending over my way. So
yeah,
really
thanks
awesome.
for having me. Look forward to seeing you up here.
Cool. Thanks, Corey.